Hello, everyone. Welcome to our episode 126 under Trendsliteratureseries, and I am your host for the day, Dia Aneja. We discussed today the book Hyderabad Heist by Sharmishtha Shenoy. Indeed, a gripping account of the robbery of expensive artifacts encrusted with precious stones from the Nizam Museum in Hyderabad in 2018, and how the thieves were apprehended. Sharmishta Shenoy is the author of Murder in the Chaudhary Place and Vikram Rana Mystery Series. She's also been an IT professional. Let us get to know her today better and her latest book better. Welcome, Sharmishta, and we are glad to have you on board today.
Thank you.
So we'll get into the question answer round right away, and we'll first talk about your background and how you emerged as an author. So before you started to write, you were an IT professional and you took a complete 360.
That's,
did, you,
that's
did you always know that you wanted to be an author one day? We would love to know more about that.
not really, not really. But I was always a bookworm, and I used to love reading a lot of books. That was my escape world. And I murder mystery was my favorite genre, other than P.G. Woodhouse, of course, which is the comic genre. But the what I felt is that when it is easier to write murder mysteries because it's a kind of puzzle that you set out for your reader, and you are competing with your reader, trying to ensure that they don't find out till the end of the book how the what is the solution basically. So, but comic genre, though I find it very interesting, love them, but I find it very difficult to write on my own.
Right.
So I can laugh at other people writing something, but for to me to produce that kind of content is kind of difficult. So that's why I selected the murder mystery genre. Now what had happened is that in when I was working in the IT industry, I had taken a sabbatical for some time because my father had passed away, and I didn't feel like working at that time. I was sitting at home. But the trouble that happened was that I'm not used to sitting at home at all. I was not used to sitting at home at all. And I didn't know how to pass the time. So then I was reading one day one book, and I thought, oh, I can do better than this. So, and the second interesting thing is that my son was young at that time, but not very young, but yeah. So he still liked he was a picky eater, and to distract him, sometimes I used to tell stories, you know. So I thought, okay, every day to get one story from somebody is difficult. So what I did was that I thought, why not write one full story and tell him part by part that story. And he was at that time, there was the CID and all those things. Another story, Adalat was there. So he was a fan of these kind of series. So I thought, okay, let me write something like that. And that's how I wrote one full story. And after he read it, he said, Mama, it is so good. Why don't you try to publish it? So at that time, I thought, who will publish my stories? I kind of had some idea about the publishing industry. It is not easy and all that. So I said, okay. Then somebody told me about Amazon KDP. So I said, okay, let me publish one ebook. So I published that ebook, and I printed 50 copies, digital copies, to distribute to my friends. Okay, so that if 50 copies is gone, that's enough for me. So that's how I started. But the point was that after I published my first book, Vikram Rana Investigates, people seem to like it, and there was a demand for it on Amazon. So then I thought, okay. So, and that's how the writing journey started. So I was on a sabbatical at that time, as I told you that when I started writing. But after that, I felt that this is after writing for some time, I felt, no, this is my area. Even when I was writing Season for Dying, I was actually still working. But then I thought, no, I don't want to continue in this rat race anymore. And so that's the reason I started writing full time. That's how it started.
Right. That's a
Sorry
really
for the long answer.
that's a really fascinating story. I mean, you slowly emerged as an author, and earlier you did not even realize that you were going to be published. That was not your motive, and then you did. And I truly understand your son's opinions. I mean, this story that we discussed today, the Hyderabad Heist, it's truly a captivating story. I mean, the way it is written, it creates that suspense, it creates the thrill that you talk about, and you're always on your tiptoes about what will happen next and what will
Yeah.
the police do. It's Thank you so much for writing this book, ma'am.
Thank you.
In fact, talking about this, what inspired you to write this particular story? And since we're also talking about it, do you think why do you think something this big, a multi-millionaire theft, has gone so less discussed, whereas other thefts that you talk about in the book itself, they're very widely discussed?
No, actually, that's not true. What has happened is this uh, theft happened in 2018, and
Right,
at that time, it made national news. Even the Guardian in the UK, they published the
right.
story about this. So it was a big story at that time, but somehow it got lost,
Right,
afterwards. Now, the
right.
commissioner, Mr. Anjani Kumar, this is his most sensational and most favorite case. So when I wanted to write something with him, he said, take this case. This is the one is my closest to my heart. And the reason for that is that if you look at if you research a little bit on museum heists and all that, you will find that 95% of the time, the burglars are never caught.
Right.
These are unsolved cases,
Hmm.
basically. And that's the reason this becomes a very important case in this particular case is important because this was one of those rare cases where a museum theft was actually solved and the artifacts recovered.
Yes.
So that's why I decided to write this particular book.
Right.
And regarding as I told you, I write crime genre. So I thought if I have to write something in the non-fiction, I wanted to write something in non-fiction category because it was a kind of bit more challenging. See,
Right.
if you are writing fiction,
Hmm.
it is uh, it is easy because you can keep twists and turns according to what you want. You can put as many twists as you want, as many turns as you want. People will take it. But in real life, if you look at real life cases, rarely you will have such care where the detective will go and there will be some more twist, that twist, those kind of things will very rarely happen. So to to make a true crime into something which has a little bit of suspense, what will happen next, what will happen next. That was the challenge while writing this book basically. And
Hmm.
the second thing is that you are actually interviewing a lot of people,
Right.
even the criminals,
Right.
right? So it becomes a little bit thrilling for me in a sense, more than the readers, because I don't know how the criminals, these are very dangerous people, how they are going to react,
Hmm.
and working with the police and the commissioner. It was he's also very busy most
Right.
of the time. It is kind of challenge. So the challenges are for a true crime fiction to write. These are the kind of challenges that one faces, rather than actually, if I have to tell you, like, if I write a non-fiction, it is far more hard work actually
That's right.
than writing a
Right.
fiction. Sorry, than writing a true crime. Because true crime, what are the steps,
Thanks.
and now your only challenge is how to make it more suspenseful to the reader, how to bring that personal factor. I can write it like a newspaper report that this teenager theft happened, that this was caught, this was caught, but that won't add any interest to a particular reader. It is that human personalized aspect that needs to be brought into the story. Then only the story becomes extremely interesting. So that was the challenge. So in crime fiction, there is one kind of challenge in the crime non-fiction category. There's another kind of challenge.
Right. That makes sense. That in fact brings me to my next question. It was what it was related to. I mean, how did you manage to do this? I mean, what was your method like? In any book, an important part of it is that it keeps a reader's attention. It is the mystery that surrounds it, the display of human emotions that you end up relating to. In this story, you've maintained that so well. And like you said, it's a true crime story. So you know the facts. So from displaying emotions of characters such as Farhan to the emotions of the police force, you displayed all of them while keeping the suspense intact. So what I mean to ask you, what was your method? How did you go about it?
I just interviewed all the stakeholders, various stakeholders. I went and repeatedly interviewed. I did even interviewed the museum staff who were there at the time of the thing, at the time of this meeting. And then I actually interviewed Farhan. So I got to understand his basic nature. The way he was speaking when he was telling about the story, you could make out that he was at that point of the at one point of very scared, and later on he became better. And so it is just experience. It's a life experience. You go to the person, you talk to the person, you get his you get the vibes from him. You get that those kind of vibes from him. You understand if he was faced at that particular kind of situation, stressful situation, what would have been his reaction? Add a little bit of imagination to that, make up some dialogues, and then you get it.
Right.
So that's the way I did it. For the police, for example, I had to go and sit at the police station, and then go through all the records, because they don't share the records with me just like that. They won't allow me to bring it home or anything. So go there, sit for hours, make the notes, come back, then go to trace the person who had. Say, for example, one of the Inspector Madhu, he was at that time not posted in that particular commissioner's office anymore. He was posted in Begum Bazaar area. So I had to go trace him there, find out, talk to him. So these are go and have some chai with him, so that he becomes quite more at ease with me, so that he opens up. So these are the kind of stuff one had to do.
Right. Wow. I was actually wondering, a true crime story, how do you go about researching? Since obviously all these are very private to the investigation. So that's very interesting.
And also the point is that what happened to what was the Nizam's total worth. Those kind of research also one needs to do. So luckily those were pretty much available over the net. So what has happened to his future generation? What is happening? Where is the Nizam currently? So that those things you become interested while writing the story itself. You become extremely interested. Yes, his jewelry was stolen. Yes, he rang the commissioner. Yes, he gave a party to the police after the recovery was done. But where is he now? So I went to the museum. I went to the palace where he stays when he comes to Hyderabad. All these things I did just to get a feel of the environment, basically.
Right. And it's all displayed in the book. I would like to tell the readers that do read it. It is worth your time. It is a very nice read, very easy read, and it will keep you captivated. So I think it is for all age groups, I believe.
Yes, it is.
Yes. So do read it. As you were interviewing the police officers in the story, did you find yourself more and more inspired by them?
Yes, kind of, because see, initially, before this, I've never interacted with the police.
Right.
Initially there was that kind of what do you say? That kind of fear that most people will have of the police. What will he say? What will he do? Will he be very strict and all that? But later on you just find that as human as you and me, they are as mild-mannered as you and me. So there's nothing to be afraid of the police. In fact, they are really are protected, especially the Hyderabad police. They are absolutely gentle people to the they are sensitive, they're gentle, they're kind. Maybe not to the criminals, but at least to the general public. I have absolutely no fear of the police. I will go and walk into any police station and know that my problems will be solved.
Hmm. Right, right. That is a beautiful answer. In fact, that really makes sense. In fact, talking about beautiful, do tell our viewers about how this eye-catching book cover came about, and do tell the viewers about it.
Yeah. So I am always very particular about all my book covers. So it should match the theme about which I'm writing. See, for example, the Hyderabad Heist. When you think of Hyderabad, you are not a Hyderabadi, I can assure. So what will you think when you think of Hyderabad? You will think of the Charminar. You will think of the Golconda Fort. You will think of the Nizams. And when it comes to Nizams, the Nizam of Hyderabad, in the last Nizam of Hyderabad, was the richest man in the world. He was richer than Bill Gates. He was richer than Elon Musk. So when you think of rich people, you think of golds, diamonds, emeralds, and actually these diamond encased things, artifacts were stolen, right? And if you ever come down to Hyderabad, you go and visit the Nizam. There's some beautiful, beautiful things, very rare, very expensive, very beautiful, really beautiful, intricately designed in jewels, in gold, emeralds, diamonds, everything encrusted. When you're writing about a heist in a Hyderabad museum, so you will like to put the things so that you connect to your reader. Any reader will identify with the Charminar. Any reader will identify with that stencil of Hyderabad. You can see the Charminar and all that. And because it's the place of Nizams also. Hyderabad is a place of Nizams. Most people are also aware of that. So there will be some kind of diamonds and rubies and emeralds. And the story itself is talking about a heist of the museum. So I thought this kind of, and a black background with a white stencil, it makes the book stand out a little bit more. And because the Rupa logo is red, I thought more of the emeralds would look nicer. So that was the. Yeah.
That's very well thought. I mean,
and of course, the designer was, of course, she pulled it off with that 3D part of the rubies coming a little bit of 3D. Yes.
I think the book cover itself is really good marketing. In fact, how did you go about marketing your book? What was your approach to it? I think that is something even budding authors would love to know.
This book?
Yes.
Yeah, this book actually, what I did was I just gathered all the facts. Like I first research, huge amount of research had to go in, because the police files, I mean, there'll be like this thick files of police files, and you're not allowed to take it home and read it at your leisure or anything. Just go to the conference room, sit, and you try to read everything and make notes. So the research part was kind of important. So I did the research, found out the story, went to the different police people, like who had the informal networks and all that. So go and talk to them, make them first comfortable. It won't happen in one session. You go and you talk to them over 2-3 sessions, and then you get the idea that what was their role in that. Then I went and visited the museum itself. Then I traced the route of the thieves.
Right.
I went in a car and actually went, okay, this is from this place, this was the masjid. From here, I went to the masjid. That photo that you see of the masjid in the book is a picture that has been taken by me. I took that picture. where the CC camera also shown very clearly. So then I went to the masjid, took the photos, and I actually went into the house from where they had jumped into the museum. I went into the terrace. I found out. I got a feel of the place, and I saw really it is very easy to still get inside that museum. You know, just to go inside that house, and then you just jump and you are inside the museum. So actually, I put myself into the shoes of the thieves, you know, basically. And then I also got one police person with me who had actually done the tracing, like how that gone, and because there are cameras all across nowadays, right? So they actually could trace the path of the thieves first when they entered and when they exited and when which path they took to exit that area. So that they could trace them till Gachibowli, that is near this museum is in the old city. They could trace them till the new city, till the highway. But after that, there were no cameras, and they kind of lost trace of that. So, but particular policeman, he took me through all that route, and he showed me, and I noted down all the landscapes and all that, all the spots which I could put in my book, and that's how it had to be. Then what I did is then I thought, okay, what is the best way of writing? That is, then you put the chapters. First, you think this chapter one will contain this, prologue will contain this, chapter one will contain this, and in the end, of course, how the thieves are actually nabbed. So that is how you first outline the plot, and then you start.
Wow, ma'am, that's really inspiring to hear how intricate and extensive and detailed your work is. I think you're saying something?
Yeah. So for the new authors, it's very simple that you do your research well, and then you write at least 1,000 words per day. See, I did not submit the manuscript to Rupa as soon as I finished writing. I sat on it for a long time. I was polishing. Maybe 1 month I just left it. And then after 1 month again, I reread the manuscript and I found, okay, this part can be done better. So that's the way and then I gave somebody to read. Beta reading is very important for an author. So I gave that book to be read by one of my friends. He liked it. So then I finally submitted to him.
Right. That really makes sense. Really great advice. In fact, a part about your book that you just mentioned how the burglars they jumped from the roof where you saw the building and everything. I really love that you also attached the image of it. Really helped us visualize it. So how did that idea come about?
No, I was actually there, so I could see he has to jump. So there's nothing that I was writing from my imagination. It was just absolutely visible to me. It was very evident. This is how the thief must have gone. See, this is one building, this is another building. I don't know whether you can see, this is one building, this is another building. And there's only a small, a young person can easily jump. This is the building of the roof of the museum. This is the building of the attached house. So one jumps from here to here, you're in the museum. And then there's there's one more wrought iron ladder kept between this lower roof and the actual house which contains that artifact. So the thief doesn't have it. So it shows that the thieves, they did a lot of deceit. They knew exactly how to get there.
Right. That is what actually I was talking about, how you've also showed the image in the book, that you have your images in the book to show us how the house looks and how the scenery looks, which helps us visualize it.
Exactly, because yes, that's why I was very insistent that I will put the pictures in the book. Actually, I had a lot of argument with my editor. She didn't want to put so many pictures. I said, no, it's very important. Please put the pictures because it will help the readers to visualize the stuff. And very lucky that my editor was very nice and kind, and she agreed in the end.
I think agreed for the better. I believe agreed for the better because this helped me a lot. And it was always fascinating to see an image pop up and I could totally visualize, completely see what the scene was actually like. It was a very fascinating story. In fact, it is so exciting that the foreword of your book has also been written by Mr. Anjani Kumar, who is the lead investigator of the case. That is really a testament of how well the book is written and how well the emotions of each individual involved is captured. I mean, obviously, you worked closely with the police and you researched a lot, but how did you feel when finally that forward of the book was done and the book had been acknowledged so well by Sir?
Anjani Kumar was involved right from the beginning of the process. Every draft, every chapter I wrote, I used to give it to him for verification, and then only I used to proceed. So that way, nobody is in any doubt what is being written, and if he has any problems, he can always come back to me and say, "Sharmishtha, this is not how it was done. This is the actual way." So he did. He was very actively involved.
Right, that is brilliant. If this book were fiction, it would of course be a fiction thriller book. Even now, it is full of suspense and thrill. And you like writing in this genre. Do you think we will see more true crime stories from you in the future?
Yes, of course, I'm thinking about it more. The problem is that for true crime stories, I need to know about those true crimes and all that. So I have to go and talk to the police, and then they have to agree. So see, for non-fiction, it's very easy because I'm writing something and it is just done. For fiction, you have to interact with a lot of other people, get their permission before you can write. So that is one big problem.
Right. Ma'am, you got amazing feedback from Anjani sir. Of course, you've been working with him so closely. How do you receive feedback? How have you been feeling about receiving feedback till now? How do you enjoy constructive criticism and how do you acknowledge it?
I think if you look at Amazon, most of the people have been extremely, extremely mm, positive about this book. And actually, these reviews are not solicited by me or something like that.
Right, of
These
course.
are actually genuine readers who have given these feedback. The thing is that I was only a little bit worried that this because I am used to writing far more fiction books, so it obviously has a lot of juicy things inside, like twists and turns, love angle, comic angle, this that. But this was not. There was no murder here, for example. This was not. I was just a little bit worried that what my regular readers will think about this particular book. I mean, I've written so many books now, so I do have a reader base. So I was slightly worried. I know their tests, so whether they will find this particular book, which is slightly totally different actually from what I usually write. Will they like it? Won't they like it? That was the only doubt I had. But other than that,
Right. I think my feedback right now, I could go on Amazon and check the 5 stars and it'll totally be my own.
yeah,
Um,
you're also. I'm expecting some monsters soon. You know what happens is you have not arrived as an author unless you get one star. So maybe sometime I'll get one star. I'm waiting for that. But whatever, if you even look at Agatha Christie's books,
right,
10 you'll still get some 50 monsters there. So
right.
who am I? I'm nobody. So basically, yeah, I will get, but most of the 95% of the reviews have been extremely positive, and I'm very happy and satisfied with that.
Right. Yes,
After all, these are all very subjective
of
things, right?
course.
What
Yeah.
is one man's meat, maybe one man's another man's poison. So you cannot say that everybody will like whatever I have written, but if majority likes, I'm more than happy, and I'll try to improve.
Majority is liking all the majority is liking. In fact, we are actually getting close to the end of the session. We hold 30-minute sessions, and we will upload this on YouTube. As a last remark, any last words that you have to say to our viewers, to anybody?
Yes, I am always happy to hear from my readers. It always gives me extreme pleasure because my email ID is given everywhere. So when somebody and people do write some feedback, give me feedbacks. Some people say, "Oh, I liked your book very much." Some people will say, one particular reader, I remember he said, like, your books are okay, but why don't you give dates? Because if there are dates in the important landmarks, it becomes easier for me to read. So I said, okay, for him, because he was and I also wanted to try this new method. I did. I put some dates in actual chapters. Many people do, many writers do actually. So I tried that and it worked out well. And he was very happy. His next book, he said, "Oh, you put the dates. So thank you, ma'am." So it feels very good, when my readers come back to me, when they interact with me, because writing is basically a very lonely business. You're sitting in a room and you're writing in front of your laptop, and you have no idea how your writing is being received by the others. So when they come back to you and say, "Yes, we loved it," or even if they say, "We didn't like this part," it's okay. I can, because I'm not perfect. I'm always looking for improvements.
Right. Right, ma'am. It has been great listening to you today, and to our viewers listening on YouTube. We would like you to order this book and definitely subscribe to our channel. Again, ma'am, it was a privilege listening to you. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Thank you. I request everybody to subscribe to the channel. Thank you, ma'am.